Welcome to our Fixer interview series. Today I've got Amy Lanci with Untold Story Enterprises. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, Justin. Thank you so much for having me here.
We've known each other for several years now. We've been in a couple groups and talked back and forth. And you are helping financial planners, financial advisors with a variety of marketing needs. And that's what we're going to talk about today is some of the mistakes. I know I've made hundreds of mistakes and continue to make mistakes when it comes to marketing. And I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about what you do, where you've worked, and mistakes you see financial planners, financial advisors making when you help them.
Awesome. So thank you so much for having me here again, Justin. And my name is Amy Lanci again. I am the owner and founder of Untold Story Enterprises. I am a marketing consultant, and I love helping business owners speak their audience's language. So how I like to introduce myself to people is that, I am creative, I am an intuitive, and I'm also an analytical thinker. A lot of my business friends are surprised that I had a 14-year career in sea turtle genetics, and here I am, like the whole creative side. But they all just kind of come together in my role as a marketing consultant because I just love hearing my client stories, and I love learning about their audience, and I love capturing their sound bites and really just clarifying their message here. And I said that I've worked with creatives and intuitives and analytical thinkers because I've had clients in all those realms. And I would definitely put financial planners in the analytical thinker realm. Y'all love numbers. You love data. You love proof concept. You love just knowing what works and what doesn't work. And I really, that's what I really appreciate about analytical thinkers. And I think I realized that there are certain marketing challenges with financial planners and analytical thinkers in general. So I came up with 3 points that we're going to talk about today. That I think that a lot of analytical thinkers and really anyone make these mistakes with marketing, and that's normal. I've made these mistakes. But I wanted to shed some light here. So yeah,
What's the first topic that people make mistakes on?
So the first one with and this is with really anyone, but I see this especially with financial professionals that they can help everyone, they want to help everyone, and they try to speak to everyone. And that's a big no-no, mainly because when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. And I know I sound like a broken record player saying that because I'm sure that if you're watching this, you're like, Amy, I've heard that so many times. Like, okay, well, here's a visual for you. So let's say I'm in a crowd of people and I'm just saying hello to everyone. Hello, hello, hello. And everyone's looking at me like I'm a crazy woman, right? That's me trying to speak to everyone. But if I shout out a name like Barbara, no matter whether or not someone actually knows me in the audience, if people are walking on the sidewalk and they hear me shout Barbara, you better believe it that all the Barbaras are going to turn around and be like, what? Yep. And then see that I'm some crazy lady and then keep walking. But it got their attention.
So you see a lot of financial advisors that are doing that same thing. Their marketing is trying to attract every client there is. Is that?
Yes, that's what it is, because when I ask them what is their ideal audience, they're like, well, we can help families, with college savings. We can help people who are close to retirement with their financial portfolio. We can help investors. So and that's the thing is, though, it's not just a financial planner will say one of those segments. Usually 80 to 90% of the financial professionals I meet, they will say all those segments. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I asked you for your ideal client, but you gave me 10 ideal clients. And chances are you're probably telling that to everyone. So yeah, When you think of marketing, it's not just, hey, I'm on the screen and I'm speaking to you on Facebook Live or something. Marketing is just essentially anytime you talk about your business. So chances are, if you're telling everyone I can help everyone, then you're already including that in your marketing without even realizing it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that is easy to say because financial planning is one of those, and advice and investing is certainly similar for all ages. I mean, whether it's a starter that's just out of college, first job, saying, hey, I need to invest, versus somebody in retirement that's drawing down their assets,
Yeah.
or anybody in between. It's very easy for a financial advisor to say, oh, I can wear that hat and I can give you advice. And they probably can. But I think what you're saying, and I would agree, is by focusing and saying, hey, this is what I'm really good at. These are the type of people that I have not just done the basic financial planning services for. These are the ones that I've read all the books on. This is where I know inside and out what could happen. And that really, it gives you an extra layer of depth to the advice and the value you can bring to that client. And yes, it might discourage somebody that's not in that channel. And I think that's where advisors get scared of. It's like, especially when you're growing your business, you're like, oh, I want any client. I want the one that has no money. I want the one that's got millions. And you want everybody in between. You don't want to scare somebody off, but you often get in that rut where you're like, well, yeah, this is my specialty, but I want to help everybody. And because you're scared of losing the one client, the one prospect that could come next. And
Yeah.
I think as an advisor, as a planner, that's where I see that mistake. I absolutely have to say, you know what, I'm happy to help you, but this is really what I'm the best at and where my energies are focused to become even better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I try and balance that. But I see a lot of advisors that still try and say, oh yeah, we help everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on a good point of, what if I miss that one person? And I have a friend who is not a financial professional, but I know she constantly worries about niching down, and she tries to resist it. And in her mind, she's thinking, and I was a little surprised by this, but it aligns with what you just said. She's afraid of cutting people out who could really need her. And I mean, if that's the case, and I understand, like, wanting to make that sale, wanting to find that prospect. I totally get that. And financial professionals, you all have services that can help everyone. That's the thing. You have service. It's not just you developed a service for everyone. You have services that can help everyone. So that makes it, that makes it harder. But I think that uh, when you are the reason why you got into this is to help people, right? And so to think about, if I'm just focusing on one kind of person, then I'm not helping everyone else. It's like, okay, well, you can look at it this way. If you are niching, if you have a niche, if you have narrowed it down to one category of people, I hate to say that, but like, one segment of people, there you go, one segment of people, but you keep getting inquiries from people who are outside of that niche, and it turns out to be more and more of those people in this other segment, then re-niche. Then you can just re-niche, or you can have like 2 or 3 niches, but you have to make sure that when you're marketing yourself, that you're only focusing on that one niche in one marketing campaign. So
No,
just
that makes sense. Yeah, you probably do a couple niches, but trying to attract everybody, or more importantly, trying not to repel anybody, means
yeah,
nobody's going to pay attention to what you're saying.
exactly. So, and then you can help more Barbaras this way.
That's right. So on to the next topic. You got 3 of them. What's the second section or segment that you see a lot of mistakes financial advisors, financial planners making?
One thing I noticed is that they put trust building and expertise building all in the same bucket. So, in other words, um, and I believe from and then I come from the world of academia, so I recognize this, that one thing that happens in the world of academia when you're getting educated and you're learning all the materials and you're having to prove that you are competent to your mentors, you know, you are constantly having to prove that you know your stuff, that you are the expert. And, that was the way to progress in the academia system. Now, when you go out into the real world and you are trying that same method, it gets a little lost because that's when the human nature comes out. So, it's different for me to talk about all my experiences and my results with my clients. That's my expertise building. But when I'm trust building, which is a separate bucket, I'm showing people who I am as a person. I'm showing people what are my core values. I'm showing people my integrity. I'm showing people, hey, I know that you're having this issue with your copy. I know you're having this issue with your marketing, and I know you've struggled with it. And believe me, I'm going to honor your wishes. I'm going to honor your story. I'm going to honor who you are as a person. And I'm going to show that to you, and I'm going to stick by you, and I'm going to show you um, just how I'm going to do that.
So,
And
so
yeah,
Amy, are you saying that, because this is something that I hadn't thought about in this light, but are you saying that the advisor, for me, I should not be marketing credentials? I shouldn't be thinking, hey, I'm a CFP, I'm an RICP, I'm all this stuff, I've got experience and I'm great, because it's undermining the trust building in some ways. Is that kind of what you're saying? Is the
kind of.
credentials need to be built there, but the conversations need to be about trust? Or
I think what it needs to be is it needs to be a mix of both. So, in other words, like instead of like, saying your resume 20 more different times in different combinations, I say, okay, we can talk about your expertise. I think that's super important to show off, all the work you've done to learn everything that you know. I think that's super, super important. I don't think that should ever go away. But I also think that there should be also a mix of content. There should be a mix of campaigns that show who you are as a person and why you're so passionate about what you do. So I think that having those, just remembering that trust building and expertise building are two different buckets. If you just keep weaving them together, it's a really great combination to balance everything out. I have seen advisors with something as simple as their bio. They look at it and they love all the credentials in there, and the moment it starts talking about their family and a little bit of how they got into the work, I have had a couple saying, do we really need this in there? Is that really necessary? Well, yes, we kind of need that in there to just have a little bit of who you are as a person, that little human element. So yeah, I think that both need to be done, but just know that expertise building is different than trust building.
okay, well, that makes sense,
Mhm.
and probably something we all need to kind of weave a little tighter. So your third point, what is the third point that you see regularly that financial advisors and planners are making in their marketing or with their marketing?
I think I noticed that there's a difficulty in coming up with content that's relevant to their audience. So I love that all of you know so much about consolidating 401ks, about market outlooks. I think that that's all amazing technical stuff that is way over my head. The only thing is that, the language that is used, what I've noticed a lot of times is assuming that the reader already knows this stuff and is already asking these questions. And what I really want to implore to financial professionals is that when you're coming up with content, start with the question that your audience would actually be asking. I mean, is your ideal client thinking to themselves late at night, thinking, gosh, I really need to consolidate those 401ks? Or are they thinking, gosh, I have this 401k over here and I'm about to retire, but I have just everything all in different places, and I don't know just what am I supposed to do from here. Like there's a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, and I just want it all in a way that simplifies things. So there's see how there's a difference in the language. So I think
Yeah.
that if I think just that there's a challenge. I think what I really want to point out here is it's really a language barrier. That's really what it is. Because the financial planners, they understand that their clients are going through all of this, but it's just a matter of, well, when you're coming with content, just phrase it into their clients' audience's language so that when they see the headline, they're like, oh, you're talking to me. Oh, I need to read that. So because otherwise, if you're talking too much in financial jargon, then they're gonna look at it and think, I don't get it, and then go away. Or like, I don't think that's relevant, I'm gonna go away. So
So
yeah.
I'll let you recap it and kind of tell how this all ties together. But my perspective on these three things is, we talked about content, we talked about trust and experience, and we talked about trying to touch everybody and attract everybody. All we're really saying is all this stuff, when we market as financial professionals, we need to be true to who we are, that specialty, that, hey, this is my lane, this is where I'm going to stay. And yes, you need to be speaking as a human and not a credential board. This isn't a resume you're sending out to people. You're trying to interact with them, engage. And in some ways, you may, correct me if I'm wrong, you may actually, the titles, the marketing, the actual content may actually be geared and should be geared to that specific niche. And everybody that's not in that niche may see it as boring, doesn't talk to me, because I really want to be talking to those specific people. So
Yes.
the 90% of them don't need to resonate with the article, because it's not for them. It's really our marketing should be targeted to say, hey, these are the people I'm really good at helping and I really want to help. And if the message is clear to that channel, if this other type of client isn't interested, it's all the better that they just skim right over it and go to the next article, because or page or whatever the marketing channel is. Because you want to attract these, and you don't really need the rest of them, because you want to be an expert. Is that a fair statement, or how do you kind of tie these together?
Yes. No, I absolutely think you got it spot on. I couldn't have said it better myself. So I'm gonna recap them real quick. But Justin,
Okay.
I think you got it. You totally got it. So I'm so ecstatic right now. This is awesome. So the first point is, marketing challenge number one for financial professionals, that they can help everyone, they want to help everyone, and they try to speak to everyone. Don't do that. Number two, they often place trust building and expertise building in the same bucket. They are two separate buckets. Just try to have some material, some marketing campaigns to show off your expertise, and some marketing campaigns to show off who you are as a person, to build that trust with your audience. And number three is just coming up with content that is relevant to your audience. So Justin's absolutely right that when you know your audience, when you've niched down and you have decided to speak to them and only them, then it's easier to come up with content. It's easier to understand how to market to them, and it's easier to reach them. That's the most important thing. So that way you have a thriving financial practice, and you have the people that you really need to help. And you know what? As you grow bigger, you can always add another niche, or you can always re-niche. It's not about depriving people of help. It's just understanding that you help people. You have people that are really already in your tribe without you even trying to be someone else. So you might as well reach them first and then go it out from there.
No, it makes sense. when you take a step back and look at it, it makes sense that I should use where I'm the best and the most passionate about and spend my time there, because it's going to be the most value for the client. It's going to be the most value for me as the advisor. And ultimately, everybody that's not in that niche, there's probably an advisor that wants that client. And
Mhm.
so there's an advisor for everybody. And if we spend our time in our expertise, then everybody gets taken care of with the best possible advice. So that's
Yes.
great. I think this was a great interview, Amy. Thank you for taking the time to come on. Amy Lanci, Untold Story Enterprise. All right.
No worries.
But it's certainly been great to have you on. I'm Justin Struble with BSG Advisors on the interview series, the Fixer interview series. And remember, we're not brokers, we're fixers.